And now joining us to talk on this matter, we have Chief Robinson Ariyo, a legal practitioner as well as a public affairs analyst. He joins us from Warri to speak on suspension of the 18 local government chairmen in Edo State by Governor Monday Okpebholo, as well as other issues. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us at this time.
A very good evening. I really appreciate you having me. Thank you.
Okay, all right. So the Attorney General of the Federation, like in the reports we just saw earlier, faulted the suspension of 18 local government chairmen in Edo State, saying it should have been the responsibility of local government legislative arm. How would you react to this?
Well, the problem we have is that not until a competent court of law pronounces on this issue, we may not be able to lay it to rest. And that, to me, aligns with the thinking of the legal realism school of thought that says that what actually becomes the law eventually is the pronouncement of the court. Now, the Attorney General is right in his putting to express whatever views he has expressed, but that does not make it law. In other words, I am thinking that the situation we have in Nigeria today vis-a-vis the Constitution, particularly Section 7, subsection 1 of the Constitution, which is still there, creates that opening, creates the problem, creates the issue with who actually is the generator that sustains the local government. If you look at the wordings of the Constitution there, it goes to say that it is every state that has the power to guarantee the finance, the structure, the composition of local government. Now, it did not use just a discretionary word. It uses the word shall. And so, even though the Supreme Court has made pronouncement recently that borders, somehow subtly on this, the provision of the Constitution is still there. The facts of this particular issue can be distinguished from the case that the Attorney General, the Honorable Attorney General referred to. So for me, I think that Nigeria is a going concern. These issues will still be submitted. Do not also forget that the Edo State government also has an Attorney General who is not less qualified than the Attorney General of the Federation. So the point is that this issue is going to reoccur, is going to chase us for a very, very long time to come. Because essentially, as Nigerians and indeed Africans, we are not democratic in nature, we are monarchical. And so the president wants to see himself as the father of the legislative arm, as the father of the judiciary. For instance, recall that when the legislative arm at the national level wanted to pick their officers, many of those aspirants ran to the president to get endorsement for the president. And this also is replicated at the state level. You find out that in order for many aspirants to be able to sustain their position at the different legislative levels, they have to kind of take the governor as their maker. In other words, what I'm trying to say in essence is that we are not as democratic as we theoretically portray ourselves to be. And so this particular issue will still need to be tested, in as much as the provisions of Section 7, subsection 1 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, is still in existence, because it gives the impression that indeed it is the state that owns the local government, that guarantees the local government, that guarantees the structure, the existence, as a matter of fact. So if you look at those wordings are inspiration for anybody who wishes to try his luck, so to say, in quotes, to rely on to do some of the things that have been done. And I can assure you that not until, both judicial pronouncements and legislative dusting, by legislative dusting, I mean revisiting of the Constitution to ensure that the dispensation we say we are in now, that is the dispensation of the autonomous local government structure can be guaranteed.
The Supreme Court judgment in local government autonomy revealed that most governors seem to be too powerful because they planted people who would be after their interests as chairman. So what do you think needs to be done in ensuring that governors obey the Supreme Court and do the needful in the state?
The obedience of court judgment is not, let me put it this way, the disobedience of court judgment is not the preserve of just the state governors. Even the federal government itself does not obey court judgments. Federal agencies do not obey court judgments. I'll give an example. A judgment was delivered in 2003 that the legal structure and of wards in Warri Federal Constituency, particularly in Warri South, should be 10 and not 12. Between 2003 and date, nothing has been done regarding that pronouncement of the court. Now, the judgment of a court, whether it's of a high court or of the Supreme Court, is the judgment of the court. Even if it's a court of customary court, it is the judgment of a court. It is the same sin. It is the same anomaly of not obeying any judgment of any court created by the Constitution or created lawfully by a state legislation. It is the same offense. Hello? Can you hear me? It's the same offense of disobedience should you not obey it. And so what I'm trying to say in essence is that the disobedience of court judgment is a systemic thing. It's something that cuts across the entire level of government. The federal government, the state government, and even the local government. And in our everyday lives, look at what is happening in the Federal Capital Territory. You see, we have this military mentality that has come to stay with us as a permanent trait. And so we try to pretend that we are law-abiding, that we believe in the rule of law, whereas in truth, we do not believe in the rule of law. We are not law-abiding. And so the impression that perhaps it is just one layer of government that is involved in this sin is very, very misleading. It is the entire, in fact, the entire country. Go out there, look at what people are doing, even in the face of, you discover a litigant, for instance, a judgment is delivered today against his interest, and it's going to tell you that it's going to use whatever it has to ensure that that judgment does not see the light of day. And you see, not until persons who are guilty of disobedience of court orders are made to suffer the consequences of disobedience of these court orders, no, things will not change. And so we must necessarily have a system where whenever somebody does something that is contemptuous, that the procedure for ensuring that that person pays for that disobedience is followed carefully and followed till the end. And so it is a national problem. It is something that we all, when I say we all, government and the local government, you see some local government chairmen go into certain areas where they have powers, demolish houses, same with the state government, same with the federal government. So basically, it is a Nigerian thing. It's a thing that is in our DNA. We do not respect law. And this does not just have to do with litigants. Unfortunately, this also has cascaded into the sacred profession that we call the legal profession. Can you hear me? Hello?
Do go ahead, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please, go ahead.
So, the point I'm making is that the approach to this problem should be a holistic approach. We need a national reorientation. We need a system where both right from the top to the bottom, we believe in obeying the law. You see, it is not the law that somebody will accuse another person of an offense and become the judge, like you have in Edo State, for instance. The government wakes up and says that the local government, the 18 local government chairmen have been guilty of insubordination. You are the accuser and you are the prosecutor. That is against the principle of natural justice. That is against the principle of enshrined in Section 36 of the Constitution. But the point I'm trying to make is that it is not just a thing with the state. It's a national problem. It's a thing that transcends the state to the federal, to federal agencies. I gave you an example of a judgment that was delivered in 2003. 2003 till date is 20-something years. Up till now, INEC is yet to obey that judgment. And INEC is proud to flout that order. So it is not just, let us not create the impression that it must be a Supreme Court judgment first before we start obeying it. Once there is a judgment, in as much as there is no order for stay of that judgment, you ought to obey the judgment. And it has become a virus. It's an epidemic. It's something that is of mountainous proportion. So the point is, not until Nigerians begin the orientation of understanding that law is meant to be respected. Lawmakers are meant to be at the forefront of respecting law. The governor, the president, the ministers, whether you're a minister of the Federal Capital Territory or not, once you are in government, once you are entrusted with power, with the ability to change the position of your fellow man, you must know that you must do that within the ambit of the law. We are yet to learn this. And so there has to be that mindset change. We have to start rethinking things. It's not enough to have a voluminous constitution. It may interest you to know that Nigeria has perhaps the most voluminous constitution in the world, and yet...
Thank you so much for being with us in Galaxy TV News. We truly appreciate you sharing with us from the wealth of your experience.
Thank you very much.
All right, and that's Chief Robinson Ariyo, a legal practitioner and public affairs analyst who joined us live from Warri. Now moving on to other stories.